goes. And let me now introduce my two lovely guests, and who are just good friends for a long, long time. I'll lose track of how long. Dave Keeling has worked with Independent Thinking for a long time around the issue of motivation. I've seen him, and I mentioned this in the conversation yesterday, just transform really difficult, reluctant year 10, year 9 coming into a hall, wondering what's going on, why they've got to sit and listen to some bloke talking to them about motivation. And within minutes, he's got them on his side. They're laughing. He's won money off them with gambling or magic tricks, as he calls it. And he has galvanized so many young people. We get so many emails from school saying that was just fun. Come back year after year after year to motivate their young people, whether it's just entering the school, whether it's before their GCSEs, whether it's going from into the sixth form or beyond. He's our star, and also working with the staff in a similar sort of way. So we're going to pick his brains about the motivation in young people. And then Jim Roberson, who I think came to Independent Thinking even before Dave Keeling. Jim I bumped into when he was teaching in a school, Portsmouth Way, and he's been a fixture of Independent Thinking ever since. He is a force of nature. And in terms of motivation and engagement and the power of education, there isn't anybody better on this planet to talk about these things, and especially with a focus now, how do we get young people to stay motivated when they might not be at school, and how do we get them to stay motivated into this future which has become even more uncertain. So breathlessly, that's setting the scene. Let me start with Jim. What is the secret of motivating young people? And by the way, Jim is still in schools. He's a deputy, I think, in a school on the South Coast. So he's speaking from school at the moment. So he's very much at the sharp end. So what's the secret prior to COVID, forget all the COVID stuff, of motivation for young people, Jim?
I think, man, I've been on a journey with it, Ian. And I think at first, the discipline coaching thing and making sure that I thought discipline was the #1 thing. I guess as a teacher and coming back into school, a couple of things have happened. One is this whole thing about finding the secret to getting them to want it. Yeah, so getting them to want to have that education, getting them to see the worth of education. So I've done 26 trips to New York, taking over 1,000 kiddies. And the theme now is, what do you want to do with your life? You see, you can come to New York, you might be able to work someday in that store. You might be able to work in that building someday, but you are going to need an education. Trying to justify to them the reason why they could come back, knuckle down a little bit and get on with it. I love the word motivation. I just love it. But I'm getting old, man. And lately I've wanted to become an inspirer. I think motivation gets you up for the game and gets you ready to go. I love that as an American football coach. But inspiration seems to last a little bit longer. And what I'm really stuck in right now is, how do I inspire my lovely young people? How do I inspire anybody I come across to actually want that education, and want to knuckle down and do whatever it takes? I also think there's a story to it. And education provides a story. So, I'm from the Bronx, New York. Without an education, I think my story or my narrative is very different, man. Yeah, so my keys now are to inspire, find ways to inspire, whether that be in the classroom, whether that be pep talks during the day, whether that be working with teachers on relationship building, because that's the key to inspiration. But that whole scene about inspiring them to want it for themselves, man, that's magic, man.
I like that. So inspiring is sort of the lazy motivators approach. I like that. It's just, you can take your time a little bit more, and it lasts longer. Just tell the attendees a little bit more about these trips to New York. What sort of kids go with you, and what's the purpose of it, and what's the impact?
So it was always, to me, it was always about, like we said in the book, Another Way. Like we said, the more you see, the more you can aspire to be. Yeah, we are what we see, and we're made of what we see. If you don't see a lot, how you gonna be a lot? So the purpose of the trip was to get them out of the neighborhoods they lived in, to show them something totally different. Yeah. So when we go to an airport, we talk about, okay, what you gonna do? Could you imagine yourself one day working in an airport? We get on an airplane. Can you imagine yourself someday being a pilot, being a stewardess? We get to New York. Can you imagine yourself working? So I did it in a way where we could really show off. So we get to New York usually around about 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, the first thing we do is, get upstairs, get some money, put your stuff away. We going out. Sir, it's 9 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. This is New York, baby. It don't close. Yeah. We head up to the top of the Empire State Building and we just look at the lights. Yeah. The type of kiddie who goes is the type of kiddie who wants to go. I've had kiddies on my trip in year 11, year 10 who had never been on a trip all through their school career. Their first trip was New York. Your behavior is not an issue with New York because we sit down, I say, if you want to go, this is what you got to do. See, going back to what we talked about a little earlier, trying to find that inspiration to help the kiddie make the change for himself. You want to go to New York? This is what you got to do, my man. And I'll coach you through it. I'll work you through it. We'll get it done. I'll even sit down and have a big burger with you when we get there. Yeah, but it giving them that inspiration to want to go. We give them a year to pay for it. So roughly about 11 months. Yeah, we get back. We usually go in February. We get back from February. We put the trip out again in March. Flights don't come out until 9 months ahead of it, but we take a deposit in March because we know around what the price might be. But we also want to make it so that is it affordable? Everybody's inclusive, man. And that's, again, vitally important. Another very important thing to me and my family, we pay. 26 trips, and we pay. We do it on February half term, and I call it, man, working outside the remit. And that's one of the things I love about teaching. You get to work outside your remit, yeah? And that is where you build your relationships, man. So the New York trips, 26 of them, we see every major site. The kids will have independent time. I will take them to an area. We'll put the staff like in a circle. We'll tell the kids, you got 2 hours. Go explore. Yeah, go see it for yourselves, man. So the whole thing is about giving them an experience of a lifetime, giving them something they'll never forget, creating an inspiration in their lives. Yeah, off the back of that, we started something called YES, which stands for Young Explorer Squad. So 2 Saturdays out of the month, we take kids from this area right now, which is Lee Park, 17 to 20 kiddies, man. We put them on a train. We go from Portsmouth to Brighton, Bournemouth, London. We've been to the House of Parliament, London Eye. You know, we've been to shows. The more you see, the more you can aspire to be. The kids are subsidized. They only pay a tenner. And that's, I got some school staff that join me on that. But we've been running that for 2.5 years, man. We stopped it because of the virus. But again, I'm really into we are defined by what we see. And I'm just simple, man. The more you see, yeah, the more you see, I believe the more you can aspire to be. My job is...
Got this. I'm off to New York.
You've got the shirt for it, Dave. You'll be fine. You blend in. Camouflage.
I didn't get the memo on wearing plain tops. Sorry. But I think Jim has made a really good point. There's 2 things there that Jim has mentioned. One is that idea of experience. If you can't tangibly, you know, if we're visiting schools time, you can't often get loads of kids out of school as somebody like me going into school. What you can do is bring the will to them. So the idea of opening their minds up to the possibilities of where this education is leading them to. And one of the lessons I learned much too late on was that the education that I received was mine. I just thought education was something that happened. And I was in the mood for it, engaged with it. If I'm not in the mood for it, it doesn't really matter. And I didn't realize till like probably well into my mid-20s that actually education is lifelong. And if I want it, I've got to find it. I've got to go looking for it. I've got to be hungry for it. And I think that combined with this concept of giving those kids those experiences that just get their minds to just open and to develop and to grow and to make connections and see where the world connects with what they're doing for so long in their formative years. Because you'll know this, Jim, you as well here. I've been to so many schools, worked with 100,000 students, and I still ask the question, why did you come to school? And the biggest answer I still get back is because I have to.
Yeah.
Because I want to, because I understand what this education thing is. Because I have to sounds like the answer of somebody where it's happening at them and they're literally just surviving the experience, as opposed to they're there because they recognize it's a foundation for the rest of it, for everything else. And creating those opportunities for them to have experiences to grow their brains is really what it's all about. And motivation, I think, is at the heart of that, because motivation for me has always been simply about having a big enough reason to do something. And for a long time, I didn't have a big enough reason. But when I found out what I kind of wanted to do, or where I saw my place in the world, that big enough reason fueled everything else. So it's about helping, I think, young people find that big enough reason to engage with the learning, for whatever reason, that will then take them off into the world. You know, it's the same set of skills, isn't it? You know, problem solving, time management, all that stuff you're doing at schools, the same stuff you're going to do in life. You're going to take some knowledge and you're going to do something with it. That's an exam, but it's also your career. It's the same thing. So making those parallels, I think, really take the kids outside those walls of school into the world, and then bringing it back down to what they're doing today can be a really powerful lesson in terms of keeping that ongoing motivation.
There's a lot of talk at the moment. A lot of talk at the moment about finding your why. I think there's a book came out about this. When I started doing this, there was people were using the phrase the WIFM, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And then if you find that sense of purpose beyond it's for the exam or because I have to, then that sense of motivation can come in from there.
And that fuels that kind of that idea of that learning is about mistakes. So we have to get past that point where people are so terrified of getting things wrong they don't want to do it, because that can be really demotivating, because you sit there and you don't want to commit to a new opportunity or to an experience or to shift where you're at. So getting behind that and that's why yesterday's conversation about laughter humour is so important, to make that environment enjoyable, that making mistakes an enjoyable process, so we can get past that point where people get stuck, and then that shuts off that motivation to want to improve, to want to develop, to want to evolve, to try new things.
I started looking at it and using the expression. I looked at a spring one day. You know what them springs you wind up. I thought to myself, well, the tighter I wind that spring, the more kick I'm gonna get out of it when I let it go. And the analogy to me is like education, man. The more they get them to wind that spring up, baby, and when you let that spring loose, you're gonna be hell on the world. So again, looking at my job, man, is getting them to wind that spring, giving them a reason to wind that spring up. So let me tell you what we do. I took them to the United Nations. United Nations has a fantastic internship program. You got to be 17, I think, to join it. But when I take kids, every kid gets an application, man. We have them go get applications. Every kid gets an application. They will put you up for 6 weeks. They will feed you, give you a place to stay, and feed you, and give you a train pass. And every kitty I take applies. Wind that spring up, man.
There's a question come through linked to the trips, Jim, which I'll put to you. I just want to highlight a phrase that you said a long time ago to me that I think I've quoted at least twice in books in recent years, which is if they don't do anything different, how can they think anything different? And I love that. There's a sort of specific question around funding. So how do you access funding to support low-income families to go on trips? So is there a quick answer to that one?
It's twofold, sir. The first part of it is opening your trip up soon enough, and making your trip affordable. So we as the group leaders of the trip make it affordable. So we go 4 people to a room. We go 2 people to a bed with sleeping bags. Because things go bump in the night sometime. Everybody brings a sleeping bag. So when you go 4 to a room, you automatically cut the price of that room. We stay just off Times Square. So what I'm saying to you is us as adults do our homework to make the trip affordable. We get back in February. We go February half term. We get back the last week of February. Man, we open up the trip again in March. We take a 250-pound deposit, and we say, you got almost until next February to pay it off. If a child comes to me that I know is in trouble and I know is having some troubles with money, I've had the pleasure of working for 2 fantastic heads who said, look, man, I help out here, I help out here. The only thing we usually put on it, and the only thing I usually put on it, is your attendance. I tell every kiddie, man, if you're looking for some help to help yourself, the best thing you need to do is be here every day. You be here every day, and we'll guarantee you some help. So funding, we haven't really gone for a lot of funding, because I think to be able to say to a kiddie, your parent is paying for this, is very powerful. Your parents ain't got the most money, dude. I think we put it back to a kiddie to say, if my parents doing that for me, I got to perform. And performing is maybe attendance, maybe, again, go back to where we started, giving them a reason, inspiring them to want to go and want to do right. I have parent meetings once a month. We start in March. I will tell the parents, you got hoovering that needs to be done. You got dishes that need to be done. You make sure dude get out there and do it. And if you don't, you call me. I make house calls.
You like house calls.
House calls.
True. you talk about you worked for 2 great school leaders who have supported. One of the questions coming through from Ollie is, schools use 5 8Cs, or the equivalent now with the Progress 8, as the reason. And it's a stick that creates stress and misery, Ollie is saying. How do you convince SLT and parents that there are other reasons to be in school? I'll put that to you in your experience, and I'll put that same question to Dave as well.
Cool. What we do with that, Ollie, man, the big thing about that is, again, one works to help the other. A lot of schools want to attack the other first. So they want to do the Progress 8. They want to look at the dark side of things. What we're into is creating that light. Yeah, we are stuck in creating that light. And to create the light, again, we're defined by what we see. As soon as I show you something different, I now have a different expectation. You now have a different expectation of yourself. And when you see it, you come alive. So what we do is we take year 11s. I specify year 11s. We go in February. Yo, we just gave you a reason for when you get back to want to get into your exams. You ain't doing it now because I told you to. You doing it now basically because, yo, I want to go back to New York again. So I might want to go to college. So I might want to go over there and work. Well, yo, my man, yeah, you got to make sure you got something to go with. You got to be able to bring something to the table. So we attack it to get the Progress 8 and all that other stuff you talk about to get that up. But we do it that way versus looking at that first. Yeah, we look at what we can do with you first, whether it be the Saturday trip, whether it be whatever it is. Yeah, we do that as a thing to get you to do that.
Yeah. And it's not, and I've had so many conversations with schools over the years, it's not either or. It's not saying, yeah, we focus on all this, but, and there's another question around personal development and connection to education. It's not that or that. It's saying if you focus over there, it improves your results. It improves all the other stuff as well. And there's such a focus on to improve the results. We need to focus on the subjects. Yeah. We'll give them extra literacy or extra numeracy because we want to improve literacy. Actually, by not doing literacy and numeracy, by doing the other stuff that makes the literacy and numeracy relevant and purposeful, will improve literacy and numeracy. Dave, what's your experience in that?
Well, I just agree with Jim. No, well, I totally agree. And the example I have is years ago when I first got into education, me and the good Roy Leightonmeister used to do a program every year where we travel around schools working with young lads, especially borderline, and we basically, the idea was to raise academic achievement to attitude. So the same principle applies. Yeah. We get them feeling confident, empower them about how their brains work, motivation, all those things, bringing the world to them, getting them to see how they can link what they're doing in their schoolwork to where that's going to take them in terms of what they desire, need, cover in life, which is what essentially, the motive to go on and be motivated. And everyone improved because all we got them to do was care about themselves and care about what they were doing. And things improved because then they would engage more. They would turn up on a more regular basis. If they had a bad day, they come back, reset, go again. So we've actually given them strategies for life, which learning is a part of. And actually then, like it will be with life or with your careers or whatever you do when you leave school, the principles of looking after yourself and having the confidence to unlearn and relearn as you go through life, that builds the motivation to go off and do all these different things. But without that, it's just you're doing it for doing its sake, and very few people want to do something for something's sake. They want to do it for the reason, the value.
What we're talking about there as well is, and again, it's a distinction I tried to help with schools when I first started off doing my motivational work with students, was it's not about how do I motivate young people, it's how do I get them to motivate themselves.
Yeah. So you don't have to. Yeah.
Jim,
because we're not always going to be there to do it. I was going to say, sorry, there's a good follow-on point is that, and we'll find this, Jim's already mentioned he's getting older. I don't know what you use moisturizer wise. I can recommend cocoa butter for men. 2 for 1 in boots. Yeah. You know it.
60, baby, 61 in June.
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But as the idea that motivation, it's an ongoing thing. It never stops. I've been running for years, but I still, every time I go for a run, I have to kind of get myself geared up for it because every time I see a bench or a cake, I want to sit down and eat it. It doesn't, that desire, we have to keep constantly reflecting on, is this the thing we want? Do we know what the benefits of this will be? Because we're playing a long game here. And I think kids, the quicker they understand that long game process as opposed to the short game process. You know, this is an ongoing evolutionary thing, and we always have to see what the benefits are, what some of the obstacles are going to be, so we can navigate our way neurologically and emotionally through it, because there will be tough times. And that's when the resilience stuff kicks in.
There's a question come through from somebody called Jackie Beer, who I think she might be an NQT early years teacher. I'm not sure. I think she doesn't really know.
Does she write comics?
She's asking about any tips for motivating online learning. That was going to be my next question, Jim, for you. So the school closed, and suddenly every child and you were working so close, and I've been to your school, I've seen you working so closely, so tightly, relationships, you were in their face, you were doing the home visits. Suddenly all that went out the window. How have you managed to keep your kids motivated up to this point, let alone into the future?
A big point with it, Jackie, but a big point was, we do a lot of stuff, man. When I work ITL, we do a lot of stuff around relationship building. The same thing we've been talking about all morning. Now is the reason why we was talking about building relationships then. Because the better you had a relationship with your lovely students, the more likely you are to get them to log on, to get them to want to get your lesson, feedback into you. The Telegraph had a report the other day, man, 2/3 of all English kids not logging in. 2/3, man, that's a lot of kiddies. And I took it right back to relationship building. If you had that relationship building, you had that relationship with your lovely student, it would be more inclined, more likely, to not just log on because of whatever, but they just might want to log on because they want to make contact with you. Same thing applies. You're using that to get them to get this done. But then relationship building, man, that relationship teacher, dude. Hey, I'm going to use the term, the virus to me has made teaching and teachers unexpendable. I know the online thing is a big deal. I know it. But it has made that whole thing about the relationship and the relationship that you have as a teacher with your students. Getting them to log, teachers, man, need to think of themselves as being unexpendable, man. And when you think like that, you behave in a different manner. You behave in a different manner, man. I'm in school, and I've been in school 2 days a week since this thing started. We have at the top 35 out of 900 and some odd kiddies, we got 35 tops. I got 13 in today. I'm thinking there's some kiddies here that I might not normally get a chance to build that relationship with. I've been really focusing, man. Making sure that I'm seeing them kiddies every day, making sure we have that laugh, sing a song, do something with them every single day. Because I know when school come back, I got some more people on board. I got some more reasons why, But the tip, and that's why, again, y'all, I went, and I love the motivation word, but I went to the inspiring word. I think there's just something really inspirational about the power of an education. If I can sell you that, and I don't know if you use it as a tip, I don't know but it'd be more inclined again to want to continue going on.
I think that's
one last piece. I got some friends in Florida. In the state of Florida, every child must take 2 online courses to graduate from high school. So they were way further ahead, man. It was no big deal to them because you got to do that just to graduate.
That was before all this kicked off.
Before all of this. So I called them up right away, man. Give me some tips. Give me some stuff, man. But, they in the state of Florida, Kitty can't graduate. Kitty knows he got to do that online thing. He knows how to do it, and he or she is going to be ready to do it. So I think a tip I have is when this is all over, that we actually have a little blended learning, a little blended curriculum, to where, you got to do something online and it counts towards something.
Let's back to relationship, come back to technology in the gap, but sorry, Dave, go on.
I was just going to add, there's some great points there from Jim, and I want to add to that engagement thing is key. I mean, that was part of the conversation yesterday, but the formula for engagement from a neurological perspective is that first and foremost, somebody needs to feel understood. And if they feel understood, their self-esteem soars and their confidence grows. And that idea that we've got time now to maybe hear some of these stories and get to know these kids even better, more better. I mean, my daughter quite enjoyed online learning for 2 reasons. One, it was just structure to the day, because the day was just going into nothing. So having that those times to get up, do something, but also she can message her mates while the lesson's going on. So it's like passing notes around the classroom, but nobody can see it. So she was engaging with some students that she wouldn't normally engage with necessarily in a classroom context, but could do in a social media context. So she was enjoying that kind of developing her relationships with mates, but also with the teacher that was online as well. So I think that engagement thing's key. Understanding those stories and really developing those relationships. And especially now when you think that everybody's gone through a massive learning, we've all gone through this at the same time. It's not just the kids doing the learning, the adults have had to go through learning. Everyone I know that works in education's just had a massive kind of like the rug's been pulled from under them. It's like, we've got to do this completely differently. So I think some schools maybe will have been on top of that. Some schools have had to go through a massive transition to get up to speed with that online stuff. So there's been some big change. I think that's going to be long-term. That's going to be powerful for everyone. And I agree with Jim. I think blended is going to be the way forward.
Yeah. There's a dark side, and I don't know how we approach the dark side. So I work in a neighborhood where there's like 78% free lunch. I work in a neighborhood where I just found out recently, because it's not something I would ever think about, nor would any of us. Some of the people I work with got them coin boxes in their house for electricity. You need 50p to get your juice running. If you ain't got 50p, so your kiddie wake up, he's home 24/7. Now he wake up, he want to play a little Fortnite. He want to play a little FIFA. The electricity box is going like that, long like that. But if you don't have 50p to go put in your box, you can't keep up, can you? Something I never thought about, man, because I got electricity running through my house. I pay the bill, yeah? But some of the folks I work with don't even have the credit to be able to get a top-up card. So my worry is the gap, and the gap widening. We have kiddies here who come to borrow a laptop. Well, that means you don't have one at home because you borrow one from us. We only have so many to lend out. So my real worry, man, is that gap. They're creating like a bigger gap, and that's a real big worry to me. I ain't got no answers yet, but that is a stone cold worry to me.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a big thing. There's a lot of talk about the gap. So you're in school. You've got to do something. Where are you going to? You say haven't got any answers, which is fair enough. I don't think anybody has really. But where are you going to start looking to address that gap in your school, Jim?
I think you start looking first, and it's a simple thing, man. But again, Ian, I know I keep saying I'm redundant, man. But if you got that relationship with your kid might be more inclined to tell you his story. He might be inclined to say to you, sir, I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. He might try to say to you in private, sir, I don't have electricity. We don't have electricity running all day long, sir. I got a coin box. He may be inclined, or she might be inclined to say to you, hey, sir, I don't have a laptop at home. Yeah, I think these things, man, really come about with the power of a relationship with your students. I used to be the discipline coach, man. Now I'm the relationship guy. I just think there's just so much in it, man, and so much distance you can get with it, that I think that's the key to having a relationship with them, because there's things going on, man. If you want to know things that are going on, you want to hear their story, they ain't going to tell you their story if they don't like you. They ain't going to tell you their story if they think you ain't interested in them. So keys to getting that is the relationship.
Can you tell us your secret of building the relationships? Because we've got a situation where we're still getting so many young teachers starting, maybe Jackie Beer is one of them, who are being told, don't smile till Christmas. And there's that real sense that the teacher's at the front, the children are there, you don't give anything away, you deliver, you transmit. What's your secret for building the relationship? And I'll ask the same question to Dave after you finish.
I'm gonna tell you, man, and I'm gonna tell you today, and I know he's here with me. Dave Keeling's here with me. I know it. I'm gonna tell you a story, man. I worked with Dave Keeling. Oh man, this is years and years ago, dude. We worked up in London. As I said, I used to be the discipline coach. I used to be the serious guy. I've always been called a funny person. My mom and I used to get in trouble at school every day because I had the title class clown. Yeah. But when I started doing my thing with you, Ian, I became the discipline coach. And for, first couple of years, I was pretty straight shooter, I worked with Dave Keeling. Dave Keeling brought out the laughter in Jim Roberson. And that is my key. See, I make you laugh, release all them crazy drugs in your head. I keep you laughing. I smile so much that some of my kids think I'm simple. I walk through the hallway singing every day. Yeah, I was in here this morning at 8:30. We were singing Justin Bieber, yeah, in the front. There is a thing about smiling. There is a thing about laughing. I tell you straight out today, and I thank the young man because he's younger than me. Seeing Dave Keeling do that, And I took a lot of that on board. I think most people that see me work now comment about the humor, comment about the laugh. Well, I'm telling you, I got that directly with Dave, working with Dave a couple of times, man. And I thank him for that. But there is something to leaving that English reserve at the door. Yeah, leaving it at the door. My wife works in primary school. I tell the chick every morning, yo, park your reserve at the door and go to school. Yeah, man, we're defined by what we see. When they see you smiling, they see you laughing, they see you having a good time, you're more inclined to have a good time with them. They're more inclined to have a good time with you. Yeah? So that reserve, man, traps a lot of English folk.
Dave, you are responsible. I brought Jim into line and made him a discipline coach and got him to sort of calm down, and you just...
What? And I made him simple.
Yeah, you taught him all you knew and he became simple.
How did that work? But it's true, it goes back to the point you made right at the beginning, Ian, about it's about humans, about human beings. And human beings want to connect, and they want to feel they can connect. And I think the more human you can be in terms of your relationships with students, that they can see those that you are like them, that things happen, that problems, it's not always easy, but we do it with a smile on our face and we love what we do, then that enthusiasm gets passed on. And that can be just as powerful a motivator it is to do a tremendous lesson about Romans and underfloor heating or whatever it is. You know, I think that's the thing that has to carry through, that they look forward to coming to being in your company. You know, as Jim's saying, some of the kids we work with, they don't get this stuff at home. So where do they go to next? They come to school and they look for it there. And when they've got people like Jim in front of them who are just smiling, powerful, you know, they've got things interesting to talk about, they're going to take them to interesting places, they're going to discuss interesting things, they're going to treat them like adults, then they want to own it. They want to do more with it. They're going to feel motivated by that. You want to leave a room feeling better than you did when you walked in. And I think that's what an inspirer does.
Yeah.
They infect people, that sort of Pygmalion effect.
You use the word enthusiasm, and I know Jim always used to talk about that, and I've talked about it as well. It originally comes from the Greek, I think, the God within.
Yeah.
It does.
And inspire means to breathe, breathe life into, motivate movement, but it's bringing something alive inside of people through that relationship, through that connection, and humour. I just wanted, because we talked about this yesterday, Dave, with Steph from Laughology, and you wrote a little book of laughter, or what is now Independent Thinking on Laughter. Can you just talk maybe new attendees through the link between laughter, relationships, feeling good, and learning? Just briefly, the sorts of how that all ties together.
Okay, I'll do my little potted version of it. So laughter, essentially, it's a basic intrinsic human thing. It's one of the first things we ever do. It's a very basic communication tool. You know, I don't know, most people tend to laugh out loud more when they're with people, for instance. So if you're at home on your own, just cackling away, you probably need tablets, to be honest, right? But essentially, we do it to share. It's a shared sense of enjoyment. And when we do that, we're releasing chemicals, releasing dopamine, releasing endorphins, chemicals that make you feel better, give you a sense of euphoria, but also we now know reinforce those learning connections. It makes learning more sticky. So, you know, I always say you've got to be prepared to give people a ball, give them a ball and let them enjoy it. I think it was Socrates that said life and learning should be a festival of the mind. Very often it's far from a festival of the mind. It's more a wet camping holiday for two, right? But actually there's that genuine sense that we've all got an opportunity to create that. But it isn't about gags. It's about playfulness. It's that desire to engage, find out those stories, ask those questions, and just play around with the information that you're getting. And that's how you get to know people. In Laughology, the company that Steph runs, we call banter verbal tickling. It's good for us.
Yeah.
Banter, we have a bit of banter with the kids. They love it. And, you know, it could be anything about what they're doing outside of school, what they're up to, who they found, whatever it is, something that will get them thinking, get them laughing. And then those brains open up, they relax. And then we can do some of the gritty stuff. Then we can do the challenging, difficult, dry subject matter. We can get that in there because their brains are receptive and opened up and they're much more likely to engage back. So that's why the laughter and humor stuff's so powerful, because humor's social self-esteem is good for us. And if we can find that collective sense of humor that me and Jim try and find when we're in a room, we can shift rooms and then it becomes really powerful.
Hey, I took a page from you, dude. So, you know, I got nicknames for my kiddies. I got a little mentor group that I've been working with just a little bit because the lady left. But I start the morning off with, good morning, blockheads. What we going to do today? As soon as you, and then I got a couple of boys say, sir, how you call us blockheads? Your head's bigger than mine. tell my man, you shouldn't talk about old people. That ain't nice, man. I'm old. You shouldn't talk about old people. But dude, as soon as we get there, it goes from here way down to here, baby.
Relax.
Now you just gliding right in there, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. There's that wonderful saying, Jim, that when the mouth is open with laughter, you can pop into food for thought. And that is a beautiful summation of neurologically what happens when people enjoy themselves.
Yeah. And when I could walk through a classroom or walk anywhere in the building, and you know, instead of giving you that face and know you messing up, hey, yo, blockhead, what you up to? The blockhead releases everything in the brain I want to release. Now we can talk about what it is you're doing that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
But the blockhead gets me in the door with a smile on your face. Yeah. And yo, again, things I've learned about that switch over, man, and that relationship building tool, and that whole thing about laughter, and being yourself with it, man. Yeah, and it's just a lovely thing, man. Every day.
Yeah. And smiling is one of those classics. It's such a simple, disarming thing to use, a smile, and you'd be surprised how many places I visit where that's the first thing that goes when people are stressed out, anxious, against the cosh, you know, under pressure. They just forget to do that basic thing.
Hey, I've used smiling sometime when you catch the naughty kid, and you got to see the look on his face. He be looking at me like, what the hell is he smiling at? Did he see what I just did? And you can see it all over their faces.
Dave, you also have the trick or the knack or the gift of just telling kids on the way out of one of your sessions, I love you, as you stand at the door on the way out. How does that go down?
Do you know, law of averages, there's always one that responds. No, but again, they're not expecting it, especially from a guy they've just listened to for an hour and a half. So it's disarming. Most of the time, especially big sixth form lads, they love a cuddle. Everyone loves a cuddle, really. But it's just that, it's the surprise thing, isn't it? It's pulling the rug out a little bit. So they're constantly going, what was that? What's he doing? And that will always get a reaction. A reaction is something you can work with.
Yeah.
Silence is difficult.
Yeah. I use it the other way. So we do an attendance thing at the end of the week for the mentor group, and you'll get some kiddies that be 100%, and I'll say, I know you love me. I love you too. Yeah. And I just go on to the next kiddie. Yeah. But it's just so true, man. Everything you're talking about is so true. And just sometimes you just wonder, man, you know, what's so hard about sharing a smile? I don't really get it. I don't understand it no more.
It always goes back to that. It's heart first, then the head. That's how I try to work.
Yeah.
Heart first, then the head.
Yeah.
Using the phrase connect before content at the moment. That came from Mark Finnis in a conversation on Monday. I mean, you talked about cuddles. Even Big Six One was like a hug. And we're a huggy lot in independent thinking, and it's interesting. The United Kingdom just suddenly discovered hugging, and then now we're not allowed to do it. So just moving forward, and it links to a question as well about how do you give people a sense of purpose in the curriculum when things like work experience and things are being reduced due to budget constraints. So suddenly you can't get on a plane and go to New York. You can't do the hug. You can't take them to London to Houses of Parliament. What's in store for those forms of connection and relationship, which we're saying are at the heart of motivation in the immediate, in the next 6 months, say? Jim, what's your take on that?
I was asked the other day, man, I was asked the lady said, should teachers go into school with a brave face when we start back up again? I told her, yo, when you start back up again, go in there like you've been missing the hell out of your people. Man, just go in there like you just make them think you just been missing the hell out of them, dude. And smile until your face break. Yeah, but let them know. And you can let them know, like you said, just by what they see. Yeah, we are, you know, just show them your appearance, baby. But let them know through your appearance. You ain't got to say a word, but you have them friendly eyes. Yeah, have that smile on your face, man. Yeah, yo, make an effort to get dressed up for them. Let them know and tell them, yo, I just missed you so much, man. Yeah.
Tell us about the friendly eyes. I've heard you talk about that before. Tell us
friendly eyes is, to me, is a concept. So I do this thing about relationship building, and we talk about, you know, what are some keys? Appearance is the number one key. Appearance as in what the student sees when they see you. What do they see when they see you? Number one, when you see me, of course, you're going to see this lovely figure of a man. But then number two is you're going to see a smile. And then you're going to see something called friendly eyes. My eyes are the friend. Used to get me in trouble when I was a young man, but I'm happily married now, 30 years. I've learned to control them. But the friendly eyes, man, that you show a kitty every day. And you know who gets them the most, man? The dinner lady. I get me 2 portions every day. But them friendly eyes, I'm going to make eye contact with every kitty. And along with that eye contact will come the smile second. But the friendly eye will come first. Yeah, it's a look. Have you ever seen in school 2 kitties together? A teacher comes up on them. Hey, Dave, how you doing? You all right? Hey, Ian. Now, then you'll say, oh, Ian got a problem with me. Wait a minute. You just greeted Dave, and I know you dig Dave by the greeting you gave him. I'm Ian now. I didn't feel that love. That's friendly eyes, baby.
Yeah. And thank you. What about the experiences? If we're saying if they don't do anything different, they can't think anything different. What plans does your school have? And I know you've got things like you have a school farm, you have all sorts of, you have a print shop in your school, you have all sorts of amazing things beyond the remit of a school to keep your kids switched on. What's happening there?
So when we get back into flow, we will find a way to social distance, but everything is on gear when we start back. Yeah, we start back, man. We have a place called the Apex Center. We teach bricklaying. I work there with boys and girls. That's my place. Sometimes what they call the naughty kitty. We just give you another reason to want to get your education. Yeah, and when you're over there some days and we're, measuring a brick wall or, then my question to them is, why do you think you need math? Well, sir, I don't really need math. Well, my man, how you going to figure out how many bricks you need to build that house someday? How you going to figure out how much cement you need? And then the light come on. Yeah. One of my boys wants to be a YouTuber. I'm going to take what you got and I'm going to work with it. But I said to the young man, well, you better get ready to get your math groove on. He said, I don't need math if I'm going to be a YouTuber. My man, you're going to be wealthy. How you going to count your money? You going to let somebody else count your money? Are you crazy, man? And no, you can see the light come on. You give them a reason. So the experience that we'll provide will be as soon as it starts back up, and we will have year 10 on June the 15th, we'll have year 10s in. We'll have to practice the classroom I'm in right now. It's set up for social distancing. Yeah. We'll spread them out all over the building. But when they come back, the first thing we're going to do is, from an SLT person speaking, the first thing we're going to do is engage the hell out of them. Yeah, we're going to let them know we missed them. Yeah, we're going to let them know. And they're going to make us feel so good about being teachers because they're going to want to be here. They're going to want to come back to school. They're going to want to be here, man. They're going to want to see Mr. Roberson and a couple others. Yeah? And that is what we're going to feed off. We'll turn that into gold, man. Yeah? We'll feed off of that.
Right. Okay. Dave, anything you want to add to that? What could schools be looking to do given the current constraints to keep kids motivated going back? And I want to touch on behavior in a minute as well. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, well, to reiterate something that Jim said there, I think to engage the hell out of them when they get back is a brilliant way of looking at it. We talked yesterday about storytelling, and I think you mentioned that Hal in one of the earlier conversations and mentioned that people are going to come back and they're all going to have an absolute sack full of stories about what's happened, what's gone on, how they've dealt with it, new experiences, things they were doing they didn't think they'd be doing. There are going to be some kids who have taken up a hobby that they weren't planning on doing, but they found themselves all this time. What we forget is that kids are brilliant at finding ways around stuff. So they've been, they're good on technology anyway. They've been chatting forever on technology. They've been still linking up and doing all this kind of stuff. So I think, yeah, to create an environment where they feel welcome back, not like this is like, oh my God, but actually, I think some kids will be genuinely looking forward to going back, because it's somewhere where they're going to feel safe. They're going to have those friendly eyes. Although I'm sure in a part of that, I saw some unfriendly eyes come to the screen.
Yeah. Big as they get.
Yeah. And I call it sparkly eyes. It's the same thing when we smile, our faces light up and their eyes sparkle. And that's the most powerful thing anybody's got going on. When people lose a sparkle, then it becomes really difficult. So I think get chatting, storytelling. And then I think what I found interesting with my kids since they've been off, so it's lovely to have them at home during half term, it's some projects. So me and my daughter have been doing some filming stuff and just sort of editing stuff, all stuff that's sort of freely available on iPhones, but actually working together on projects has been really useful. I think what Jim was saying there about, those tangible things that we might be distance apart, but getting kids to collaborate with each other again, from having being so separated, stuff they can really just cogitate, work on, problem solve, play, think, all that glorious stuff, all the good stuff in learning, I think, just getting back into that.
And let me flip you back to something. never have you had this time to spend with your kiddies since they were born. So from the time they're born to about 3 years old, you putting in this kind of time. And then you get out of putting in this kind of time, and you never really get it again. My youngest is 25. She's working from home. I'm going to tell you the truth, man. I am loving the hell out of it. I'm loving it, man. I got the chick home every day. My other daughter, she lives not too far from us. She's working from home, so I get to see her every day. She can just come to the backyard or come to the fence. Yeah, sometimes she's nice, too. She bring me a case of beer. She's really nice. My son's over in Barcelona working. Yo, man, this dude would be up, but he's now FaceTiming us or, you know, yo, twice a week, 3 times a week. He was in New York. I had to call up people to go find him. Now he's on his own, you know, and he's contacting us, man, and we having these these family meetings and family games and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to tell you, man, I think a lot of parents need to look at the right side of this thing and say, yo, I'm getting in some quality time.
I think Jim's just frozen there. Hopefully.
Yeah, well, to add to that, I agree. I mean, my youngest daughter supposed to do GCSEs. He's still going. He's still going.
Jim, you froze then. Jim, are you still with us? Talk to us just briefly because you froze. Are you back with us normally now? Can you hear us, Jim? I don't think Jim. Nina will sort that out underneath. Go on, Dave.
Okay, I'll just say my oh, he's back.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you?
Well, yeah.
I was going to add on to what you were saying, Jim. My daughter was supposed to do her GCSEs. My eldest daughter was supposed to do A-levels, and they've kind of school stopped for them quite early on, and they've lost out on quite a few things in terms of, you know, the prom and that first big thing you get in life where you do GCSEs, those kind of big moments. But actually, we have enjoyed that quality time. It's been an incredible experience, like you said, that we won't, you know, one might be going off to college at some point, one's definitely going to go off to university at some point, whatever that looks like. So we will never probably get this time again. And it has been a really powerful, lovely thing to experience. And something that we hadn't planned for, but we've really enjoyed that process of sort of, you know, reconnecting as a family.
So what happens, Jim, to the kids who in your school who have had all those really good experiences and maybe didn't have such a good experience of school generally and don't want to come back? And maybe the parents are happy with that. What's your plan with that, Jim? Hopefully he's back on track now. Can you hear us, Jim? Is he still frozen? It's hard to tell. Yeah, no, it's not hard to tell. He's not speaking, therefore he must be frozen.
Yeah, his eyes are shut. We don't even know if they're friends anymore.
Like Dave said.
Yeah, we're losing.
As a mentor.
No, I think we're going to have to. We've got 5 minutes to go. Whether Jim just switch off and reconnect, Nina will sort that out in the background. What do you think, Dave? The kids who just don't want it, because we're talking about high levels of homeschooling, of absence as a result of all of this.
Well, this is one of the fascinating things I think we'll see coming out of this. And I don't think this is just down to kids either. I think there's a lot of people who've been working from home who are going to be thinking, I don't want to go out to work. I quite like it how it is. And I think the flip side of that is we have to, when we do get back to school, is to remind them of why education is there, what the powerful thing, the motivator education is that remind them of all those really good things that we've been talking about for years when we visit schools, about it is the foundation for everything else. Learning is about growing your brains, and you won't be able to grow your brains as much if you're just stuck at home all the time. And actually, the world has still plenty to offer everyone, but we have to do this thing called learning. Otherwise, we're going to get, if we don't keep up with a world that continues to shift in whatever capacity, two things tend to happen. Skills will come outdated and confidence goes. And actually, everyone I've ever met, doesn't matter how off the scale they are or how sort of disruptive they are, everybody has some fundamental desire, need, want in life, whether it's to have a house or just a bit of cash in your pocket or a nice car or good relationships. And that all requires learning. Otherwise, we can't manage them, we can't maintain them, we probably can't achieve them in the first place. So I think it's getting kids back into that environment where they recognise what the good stuff is and how powerful education is in terms of leading the life that we really want to lead and get the things we really want to get.
Thank you, Dave.
Jim, can you hear me?
We can now. You got 1 minute.
I got 1 minute, dude. I want to sell the whole virus thing. If you look at neighbors, I'm gonna give you a dark side, man. There's been some studies about people, a higher rate of some people dying than others. If you look at, people living on top of each other, I'm gonna relate this to education, man. I can't wait to get back to sell the whole education thing, because some of what's going on in the virus is, yo, you end up, if you don't get that education, you end up living in an area you don't want to live in. You end up doing a job that's going to give you high blood pressure and all the rest of that. You ain't going to eat well because, yo, most of the time you're working. Yeah. All these things to me stem from the power of an education, man. So I think we even got a greater purpose, you know, when this whole thing is over.
Wow. And I read some research a couple of weeks ago. I think I shared it with you. The Bronx, the death rate in the Bronx compared to Manhattan, 2 to 1. Twice as many people die in the Bronx as in Manhattan from COVID in New York.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, go ahead.
Just one last thing, because I wanted to touch on the B word. I was about to come to that before we lost you. There's a lot of pressure coming from government and the people about, you got to get schools back in, get your booths ready, get ready to be sort of nailed hard on. These kids have been feral for months now, so we've got to bring them in and bring them down and get ready for and change your behaviour policy. So what's your view on that? The B word.
I take from Dave and I'll say, yo, man, tell me what you've been up to. Talk me through your experiences, yeah? I know a couple of kiddies, man, they've been playing a lot of FIFA. I know one dude who won a Fortnite tournament and won about 300 pounds. Yeah, one kiddie, yeah? Now, tell me what you've been, see, engage them, man. Make them feel that what they've been through is important, yeah? And that'll help lead you into what you need to get them to do, yes? But I think engagement, man, and relationships is just gonna be the absolute key. That's gonna be my secret when I get back. I know I'm not gonna be able to hug them. I'm developing on an elbow shake, you know, elbow shake. We can hit the elbows, you know. Kick legs, that'll keep us 2 meters apart. Yeah, shin kick. But I'm developing some things, yeah? But I'm going to let you know, man, through them lovely eyes and that smile, that dude and young lady, I missed the hell out of you. And I missed my sense of purpose. So I'm happy to be back at school. Yo, let's go.
So relationships, a sense of purpose, the God within, the friendly, the sparkly eyes, tell me your story, all of those things, first and foremost, which will address some of the issues around behaviour, and then we'll think about the catching up and all the other stuff as well. But we've got to connect with them first. We're out of time. So thank you ever so much. Sorry we lost you, Jim, briefly, but it was only briefly, so that was good. Thank you so much for everything that there will be so many screenshots of your face right like that, and then that's what we need. Dave, lovely.
That's a gift right there, isn't it? A gift right there.
So Jim's eyes and Dave's shirt will be on posters around the schools of the country when it comes to motivation. Thank you both. It's really, really good. If you want any more of this conversation on Twitter @ITL Worldwide, put some stuff out there. If you want to ask any more questions, I can field them in at independentthinking.co.uk. Check out Dave and Jim on our website, independentthinking.com, or make contact with us if you want anybody to support you in any other way going forward. Independentthinkingpress.com are the books. Jim's book, Dave's books, they're 30% off using the code CPD30, or 50% off if you want the ebook using the code VAT50. The government knocked VAT off ebooks, makes them a little bit cheaper with spreading the word with that. Keep safe, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Ian, Dave, thank you, man. Fantastic. Take care of yourself.